Hi, and thank you for joining us. My name is Sean Marshall. I'm joined here today with Gordon Maeta. Gordon, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for inviting me. Hi, everyone. Good to be here.
Looking forward to a fruitful conversation
Yeah,
and
no,
hopefully add
definitely.
some knowledge to our listeners.
Excited to be part of this.
Great stuff.
Awesome.
Gordon, our topic today is about fraud awareness, with the Fraud Awareness Week and those kind of things, specifically on the non-life section.
Yeah.
We want to talk to you about that a bit today. So just talk to us about, let's get right into it. What is the importance of awareness, and what does that mean to you, and why do you think it's so critical that we drive that message?
Yeah. Sean, when we talk about fraud, I just want to touch on where it originates or where it comes from.
Okay.
When a person started thinking of fraud,
Mm.
it happened mostly when there's a bride at home.
Mm.
Family members giving you advice.
Yeah.
In terms of how did I do this and how I got away with it.
Mm.
And it's so scary because of the person that are always around at the bride.
Yeah.
They can be also your young ones.
Absolutely.
Listening to, okay, uncle did this and then he
Yes.
got away with it.
Yeah.
Let me also try it. I mean, just to make an example in
Mm.
terms of the claims that we've been seeing lately.
Yeah.
Cell phone claim.
Yeah.
The cost of a cell phone now.
It's more than the average repair cost of a vehicle. These days.
Yeah,
I mean,
correct.
Because these things are what, 30,000, 40,000.
40,000, correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely.
Now, Gordon in his household, he buys his two boys cell phones worth 40,000.
Mm.
They are not insured.
Yeah.
And then 3 months down the line, one of them lose the cell phone.
As it normally happens.
As it normally happens. Yeah. So what am I thinking, or what the son thinks? Okay, let me take insurance because of at the briar, uncle said, he did this.
Yes.
Let me take up insurance, insure the cell phone.
Yeah.
3 months down the line, he submits a claim for a stolen cell phone or a lost cell phone.
Yeah.
Now, the ripple effect into that, Sean, is that the insurance then catch you out.
Yeah.
You only at high school or at varsity level.
Yeah.
You haven't started your life yet.
You're at the cusp of it.
Exactly. Now, you've been caught, the insurance is blacklisting you, and you are even reported to the police.
Oh.
Now, you go to the bank to get a loan or to apply for finance or then you get turned down.
You're done.
You go to try to get employment, you've got a black mark on your name.
Yes.
So that's the sad reality of what is happening.
Yeah.
And answering your question in terms of fraud, where it all comes from.
Awareness, yeah.
The awareness, yes. So that's what one wants to bring, into this discussion.
I get it, because what I hear you say, Gordon, is I hear you're making specific reference to advice is only as good as the person that's giving it. So sometimes we're listening to people that gives us wrong advice. And let's be honest, uncle's going to boast at the bride.
Exactly.
He's going to tell fairy tale stories and going to make himself look great. So you might not get the pure view of what it is, but they also always make it sound so easy. And the fact of the matter is just, we're not born criminals.
Not at all. We're not born criminals, Sean. We're not born criminals. I mean, if you listen to some of the people that wrote books that tells you how I started, what led me to become to do this. No one was born a criminal. Say from day one, I planned how to do this.
And that's the sad reality, because this youngster now, he's listened to Uncle, and he thinks it's easy, but as soon as he gets peppered with a couple of questions, he finds himself in uncharted waters, and there goes his career. Because like you rightfully state, some insurers take it very seriously. They will open a fraud case against it. They will notify you with different institutions. Your name will be blacklisted. And before you've even started your career, you've kind of sacrificed it. So you've gambled it all.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So awareness is key in just understanding, and to the general public out there, that it's never as easy as people claim it is, and understand that there are serious and dire consequences when you are caught for fraud.
Correct.
So Gordon, if we move on a bit, I want to ask you just, what's the key? Let's talk about, refer to it as role players. If you can highlight 3 role players in the sphere of fraud when we're talking about non-life insurance claims.
Sean, the key role players I can identify for now is your clients,
Okay. So this is average Joe Sub.
average person,
Okay.
your clients, your syndicates,
Oh, syndicates.
and then also the in and out.
Okay.
I'll explain. I'll go deeper into that.
Okay.
So let me just unpack on the clients.
Yeah.
There's
What makes clients commit fraud? Why do they do that?
I mean, mostly it's they'll tell you that due to economic, factors,
Of course.
it led me to do this because of, look at the general household.
Yeah.
Out of the 5 people, you only insured the certain items, and then you cannot be able to replace them. That's the first one. The another thing, it's more like I want to be seen having nice things.
Okay. Living up with the Joneses or
Exactly.
meeting. Okay,
You buy a 30-centimeter TV and then you have a break in. You submit a claim, you inflate the claim.
Yeah.
Now you want the 68. If there is, you want the 68.
You want the
You
biggest,
want
baddest
jewelry.
one.
You want, all this. So,
Yes.
so that's what usually happens.
But
on
Gordon,
that level.
there's another thing, and sorry for interjecting.
Yeah.
I think there's a big thing that we've picked up as well. Insurance is generally referred to as this grudge purchase and those kind of things, So when somebody has a valid loss, so what you explained there is somebody has a valid burglary claim or whatever the case might be, and what I hear you say is they then inflate their claims, right? But it almost feels like the average client comes into that claim and say, okay, well, I've had insurance for so long, something has happened now to me. It's almost that you owe me.
Yeah.
You owe me. And then from that aspect, we're going to maximize the potential of that. And what is the risk for that? Because, now you had a valid loss. Sure, you had a valid loss, but now you want the biggest, the best, and the greatest, and those guys. How does insurance companies then actually treat it when you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar to say, but you've inflated your claim by 30, 40%? What happens then? Do they at least pay the rest of my claim?
No, Sean. I mean, the risk there is that you lose everything.
Oh, my.
I mean,
so the entire claim
will be repudiated. Yeah, the entire claim will be repudiated. Just because of you wanted to, be up with the Jones and then try to have things that you don't have. And then you saw right that people think that at some stage that I need to be rewarded. I haven't claimed for 5 years. I lost my an item that is worth 15,000, so I'll claim for 30,000. I mean, that's fraud.
Yeah.
50 cents. 100 rand in any financial institution, that's fraud.
Exactly. There's a lot of people that always jokingly says fraud and fraud light, but there is no such thing. Fraud is fraud.
Exactly. I mean, there's also a term they say there's soft fraud and hard fraud. So fraud is fraud.
Exactly.
You cannot just say no. I'll distinguish as or when you're in court to say, listen, I'm a soft criminal.
Yeah.
Please give me a lesser sentence. It doesn't work that.
And the sad reality is you're again gambling here, and you're putting your entire family's financial wellness at risk here, because now you've suffered a realistic incident. You try and maximize the claim. You get caught with your hand in the cookie jar, and all of a sudden you're worse off at the end of the day, right? And it's this perceptual value of the average client, again, listening to bad advice, listening to friends, listening to family, that gets them in this position. And fundamentally, it eventually ends up worse for the family. And those stories you don't hear, because the family's not going to tell you about those stories around the Wi-Fi.
No.
They're going to tell you about how bad the insurance industry is, and how those kind of things, and that gives us a bad rep again. Doesn't it?
I still would like to see a person out there sending an email on Hello Peter or any platform to say, you know what, I committed fraud, I submitted this, I inflated the claim, and I was caught. So it doesn't happen. Everybody wants to portray themselves as the good person on that.
And that's a sad reality, because the good work that companies like Rix Forensica, internal investigations, and those kind of things do goes unheard of.
Yeah.
It's you're a silent hero. You're doing good to society and your client, but it never gets mentioned.
Yeah, and then those that are caught, perceive you as this bad person.
Yes.
This is a bad guy. You're not supposed to be associating yourself with such people. And then moving on, Sean, to the next one is syndicates.
Okay.
In the past, we used to hear syndicates that are targeting certain companies. But today, syndicates are everywhere.
Yeah.
In the insurance is worse. They are targeting. And the direct impact that they are causing. It's very severe. It's costing us millions. It's costing companies millions.
Yeah.
To try to put in place systems on how they can identify the syndicates, systems that can raise red flags, to able to see
because Gordon, the problem with these syndicates is I hear some harrowing stories from time to time, but it sounds like they're well funded. They are sophisticated. I mean, at one stage I heard there's a syndicate operating from an office with over 100 employees.
Correct.
So the fact of the matter is, you're not dealing here with average Joe Soap that's not a born criminal. You are dealing here with an entity that goes out with a specific intent of defrauding the entire industry. And with that, they come with plans, they come with financial backing, and they know how to do it. So I think that is the biggest killer potentially to the industry, because they're not as easy to identify, are they?
Not at all. You're so correct, Sean. They operate like any normal company. They've got systems in place. On how to commit
avoid
crimes,
and
how
flow
to avoid
under the
this.
red flag.
Exactly, and they also do a research. They go out and do the research on these companies to identify. How can we scam this company? How can we defraud this company?
And that links us to your third point of inside out.
Exactly.
Just unpack
on the
that
ins and outs. On that one, where do syndicates get their information from? When they go out to do research, they interact with people who are working in the companies. That's where they're getting their information in the inside, and taking it outside.
So what I perceive you say from the inside out is, insurers, brokers, underwriters, we're so focused on fighting fraud from outside in.
From the outside.
The question is, how much are we spending time, resources in fighting fraud from inside out? Because this information to syndicates must come in some shape or form.
Correct.
And who knows what our processes, our procedures, our red flag models, and those kind of things. It's got to come from inside, right?
Yeah. And especially when you look at those companies, the small and medium-sized companies, where they don't have the financial capital, to invest into tools that can drive and identify and mitigate this fraud from inside. And most importantly, train and vet their staff members to make sure that they adhere to the company procedures and laws. So it's important in those situations that you make sure you invest within the company, and
create awareness, fraud awareness
within
inside
the company as well, Sean. Because you look at situations where these syndicates, how do they know that your underwriting, procedures have loopholes? How do they know at claim stage they're going to ask you the following questions? And when they submit the claim, they already know what questions to avoid, and what questions that they know they'll answer you. Say, no, this is what happened. So it's so important to make sure that you invest, within the company to create that awareness.
Absolutely.
Because of the other last point I just want to make, syndicates always go for their low-hanging fruit. Because once they target that, you don't have all, your checks and balances in place. You're gonna bankroll their, lifestyle, whatever that they do for the next 5 years till your company closes down.
And that's the thing about a syndicate in general, Gordon. What I understand you say is these oaks will keep on knocking.
They keep
on hitting you until you catch them, or you say, I identify you, I see you, I'm putting systems, processes, and procedures in place to limit it. Because syndicates, in quite honesty, and maybe I'll be lambasted for this, it's laziness. Because we've got a great plan, we've got a great system, we know how to do it, but it's low-hanging fruit. As soon as you make it a bit more difficult for us, and we see, but listen, this business has got their ducks in a row, we'll move
to the next
the lower-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So it's essential for you to do that. So that's fantastic. So from a perspective, to just summarize to our viewers here, you get your client fraud which is obviously the individual household that's taking advantage of the industry, generally backed up by bad advice again, and inflating their claims and those kind of things due to financial circumstances and pressures and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I think most households today are struggling. They're finding themselves under a lot of pressure. Insurance is definitely not the option to solve that problem. Secondly, we're talking about syndicates, well sophisticated, well organized, well funded. You got to be smart. You're going to have a bit of level of intelligence in your system to identify them, because this is their full-time job.
Yeah.
And then finally, have systems in place to also make sure that you mitigate the fraud from inside out, and you make sure that the people that work within your organization isn't adding to your fraud problem.
Yep.
So Gordon, I am cognizant of the time and seeing our marketing manager waving already at us. How do you curb it? How do you mitigate it? What is the options available to a small business, a medium size, a large business? Because most large businesses, let's be honest, I think they have got the funding, they've got the financial means, they've got the systems, the expertise, and those kind of things. But what do you say to a small business that says to you, Gordon, I'm still registering claims on paper. I'm still having claim forms. I still have basic fundamental systems and those kind of things. Mm-hmm. How do these guys make an impact? Because fraud costs money. Yep. Combating fraud costs money. So how do you answer that question to small to medium-sized businesses that don't have this infrastructure?
Yeah, but Sean, I think what we also need to rectify is always hearing people that fighting crime or fighting fraud is expensive.
Yeah.
So let's just park it. Yeah, it's a general perception. But, there are companies that you can collaborate with, companies that you can work with, companies like your Risk Forensica, where we sit down, we map our processes in terms of how we can help you, to mitigate fraud at claim stage, how to help you at sales stage, and in terms of how to identify that this is a good client.
So you actually step into your client's environment, understand what they do, and then you make recommendations on, look, let's put down some basic fundamental red flags and those kind of things, and then evolve from there.
Exactly. Okay. And also, we can do the claims management for you. In terms of going out doing assessment.
Yes.
Because of our main objective is to make sure that you pay, valid claims.
Yeah.
So we help you in terms of how to, to go through that process.
And Gordon, that is a thing I just want to tackle for a second, because my biggest gripe about fraud in the world, in the country, in South Africa, whatever the case might be, is the person that always pays is your client, the honest client. Because fraud, all that means is we're spending more money as an industry on paying claims that shouldn't be paid.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, who's funding that? Next year, all the insurer is going to do is he's going to say, my loss ratio is there. You know what? We need to up
premium.
We need to up the premium. And fundamentally, it's the honest people. And I also feel sad for the honest people, because your red flags, your fraud models, and those kind of things sometimes, unfortunately, also picks up the honest client's claims, and we have to put them through that process of an assessment, a validation, and those kind of things. Because let's be honest, if we could trust everybody, we could just sign the check now at claims and registration, sign it. So I think the biggest losers, unfortunately, is with your honest clients. But the sad reality is just, and with TCF and all those kind of things going on, there's a responsibility on any corporate, any business, to make sure that you only pay valid claims. And it is a sad reality that the honest client, unfortunately, sometimes not only bears the brunt from a cost perspective, but also from potentially a delayed claims settlement and those kind of things.
Correct, Sean. And remember that from the insurance side, they do business in good faith.
Yeah.
At sales stage, they entrust you to tell them the information that they require in order to price you correctly.
Yes.
So it's the responsibility always with the customers, to make sure that you give accurate and correct information, so that at claim stage, we don't have to build all these models, and then you show right that we frustrate those, the honest customers out there. In their mindset, it's like, okay, now it's claim stage. I'm just going to tell them I lost this thing, deal with it.
Yeah.
And then you come and say, okay, but we have to go through this because of this is what we try.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But earlier on during our chat, you mentioned a very important thing when it comes to clients who like to take chances in committing. You mentioned that I think Garth de Klerk, always from ICB, always say, you're gonna do it once and you're gonna get it right. You're gonna come back again. And you do it, but eventually you'll be caught.
That's the thing, and I think it's human nature. You do it the first time, you're nervous, and those kind of things, and by pure luck, because it's a gamble that you're taking, by pure luck you go through. Once people realize, wow, that was easy, they're going to keep doing it again and again and again. And Garth is one of those characters that always says, you will be caught eventually. There's a payday. But Gordon, just fast forwarding, fraud, a lot of companies perceive it costs a lot of money to fight fraud. But I think where they miss the point is just, when you have a fraud, a validation strategy, a red flag, a fraud model, and those kind of things, that needs to deliver value to the business. And in my honest opinion, and I'd like to quickly just get your take on it, fraud's going to cost you money. Whether you pay fraudulent claims or you invest money in curbing fraud, money you're going to spend, you pick your pain. The only difference is, in my honest opinion, is paying fraudulent claims far outweighs the cost of curbing fraud. And you're never going to get to 100% catching of fraud.
Correct.
But the fact of the matter is, I do believe that fraud far outweighs it. And a lot of our small and medium enterprises believe that it's too much money to curb fraud. But it's just because they don't have a view of how many fraudulent claims
are there. Correct, John. And that's why it's so important for us, in the space that we're playing in. We always go out there to try to collaborate, especially small and medium, companies. Okay, since you don't have the capital, to buy all these machines,
all the tech savvy, AI, machine learning,
exactly. And then even if you spend on that as well, it's always important to have people that are always on the ground, who can help.
AI hasn't replaced
no,
feet on the ground yet.
It hasn't. So it's so important to collaborate with companies like Risk Forensic, like I said earlier on, and then you'll also look in terms of return of investment. Look at since we've started this journey, what have we done? What do we have saved the company? And then work towards, the future then. And then if you can see that, this is not working, definitely then you can move into and try something.
At least make a educated decision, you are saying,
exactly.
So implement at least some fraud mitigations, monitor the ROI, and after 6 or 8 months or 10 months, if you then see, but I'm not getting the return, then at least you can say it's an informed decision that it doesn't pay.
Correct.
Because I've heard a lot of insurance companies or underwriters or brokers or whatever, there's this whole fallacy about pricing for fraud, So you like the price a bit because there's a certain percentage of fraud that you're going to pay, and you happily pay that, And that's also the wrong perception, because it's a snowball effect. Right now, maybe you can price for it. But if you don't deal with the fundamentals, if you don't get the syndicates out of the system, if you don't set the bar, if you don't put those systems in place, that ball's just going to get bigger and bigger.
Bigger and bigger, Sean, because of you pricing for fraud. So what you're basically saying that I'm willing to deal with syndicates. Provided my clients are paying for that, which is not fair.
Fundamentally, from a value perspective, that's just wrong.
Exactly.
Because you're condoning
fraud. Exactly.
Absolutely. Gordon, this is a topic we can discuss for hours and hours. Some key takeaways for our viewers before we wrap it up, and thank you very much for your time, is advice. Be careful where you get it from. Advice is only as good as the person giving the advice. To our youngsters, especially going out, guys, don't gamble with your future. There are consequences to decisions. They call it adulting. Adulting is not easy, and you will be held accountable for your decisions. The short-term gain is never worth the long-term pain. And then finally, from a perspective from all our potential clients out there, if you don't have the means, you don't have systems in place from an internal, external point of view, it doesn't need to cost you an arm and a leg. You don't have to fork out sophisticated systems and those kind of things. give us a shout. Let us understand your business. Let's see how we can obviously make an impact to yourself. Because at the end of the day, Gordon and myself, we're passionate about fraud. We're passionate about helping our clients, giving a return on investment to businesses. So if you are one of those businesses out there that's stuck and don't know what the next step is to stop it from happening, give us a shout. And once again, to our community, thanks for the sitting in and spending your valuable time with us. Gordon, once again,
Thank you
thanks
once
a lot.
more. Thanks,
Hope to
Sean.
see you soon again.
Likewise.
Good stuff.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.